You go out there and they start counting Einschlein's. Well, they're short. So then they go back into the barracks and count the ones that are dead or ones that couldn't get up. Count them, then they come back out and count us again.
These are the frontline testimonies of a generation that came together to put their lives on the line to protect our freedoms. We owe it to them to always remember World War II.
We was up on where the PO boxes were. And the little town of AUW was down below us. Well, the Germans were coming up to take the town. Down we went, we chased them back about a mile. It was getting late. And so we was coming on back to the town of All. And on the way back, there was a little clump of trees. We got in that clump of trees and they'd make a lot of noise, bang your shovels on rocks and holler at one another. As soon as it got dark, we moved out. No sound, nothing. We had one man on a stretcher. He was dead. And we went back to the little town of All, and we dug foxholes close to the buildings and houses and everything all around it. And we had a 105. He got caught too. And he's up on the high part of the town there behind the barn. And the barn had a stone wall, a little pen. That's where he was, down in that pen. About 11 o'clock that night, they made toothpicks out of that clump of trees where they thought we were. They stopped shelling and no sound, no nothing. We weren't there. So then they started dropping shells all out in the field in front of us. Finally, about midnight, they stopped and went to bed. Next day, over west there was two trucks come out of the trees there out in the open, going real slow. Well, this 105 turned around and stopped the trucks. Behind them was team and wagon. Well, when you put an HE under one of them team and wagons, there's not much left of them. So we stopped that convoy. Next day, that's when the shells started coming in. One of them hit 5 feet on my left, and I didn't get my feet in, and one of the piece of metal went into my foot. Kind of a bloody mess. Then they said, well, we're going to take Schoenberg before the Germans get there. We started out there. The Germans were already there. They started hitting shells that hit the trees. Shrapnel just scatters everywhere. So we backed out of that. We got down in a little low place where some trees were, and we hid out there till dark. And there was a preachers, they had a Jeep and a trailer. His trailer was there, but they took the Jeep. Well, there was a whole carton full of peanut butter. We cut the top out of that. We ate it with our bayonets. We ate peanut butter out of that. We started walking that night in single file in the snow. And me and another man, we was about halfway back in the deal. And the burp guns went off, and they almost shot Lieutenant Christensen, almost shot him in half. and Colonel well, the captain, he got hit too, but he wasn't dead. But me and another man, we from Missouri, we put our arms through our rifles. We down on our hands and knees, and we was getting out of there. Well, the ones that were hit, they were carrying on pretty bad, so we're not going to leave them. So we threw down our rifles and our ammunition belt and went back and joined the rest of them. Well, they took us down to a little school. It'd been abandoned and everything, and all it was just straw laid around on the walls there. That's where we slept, on that straw. They come in next morning, said anybody wounded and needs any attention or anything. I didn't say anything. Sergeant said, you better get that foot taken care of. So away we went. Of course, my feet were frosted too. And this one nurse, she wrapped my feet, wrapped in, they don't have cotton fields, but they got a lot of trees, so crepe paper, wrapped my feet real good in crepe paper. And I could still walk. And we stayed in a hotel that they cleared. The rest of us couldn't hardly walk or get around, neither one. There was about 10 of us. So they cleared out the whole restaurant part and put 10 little beds in there. We stayed in there for over a week where we got where we walk, and I could get my shoes back on. So we walked quite a while, and one of the men had shrapnel in both his legs. He got where he couldn't walk, so we carried him piggyback. We took turns carrying him piggyback. Finally, we went up and down the Rhine River, Bonn. There's a prisoner of war camp up there. We stayed there about a week. And sometimes we rode on regular passenger trains at night, not in the daytime, but at night. Finally, on about January the 18th, we ended up in Stalag 12A. And our barracks was, well, first off, we was in separate beds. And that night, somebody come by and said, anybody here from Kansas? I said, yeah, I'm from Kansas. What part of your town? I said, from Eureka. He said, well, that's where I'm from. So I got to talk to him. He lived up on the Upper Fall River. That's the only time I ever got to see him actually talk to him. I talked to him after that on the phone and everything. And then next day they sent me to another, I guess you call it a house. It was a building and 2x4s, and then they had straw and plaster for insulation. We slept on the ground. Straw, a bunch of lice-ridden straw there on the ground. You had your, whatever width you were, that's what you had. Rows and rows and rows. By having that many men in one room, it wasn't really too cold. Then daytime we'd get on the south side of the building in the sun, and we chase cooties, lice. Find one and you wool him around a little bit and you put him on your thumb. And then you take your other thumb and pop him, popping cooties. That's the only way you kill him. we stayed there quite a while. Just a bunch of rows and rows of buildings, and had a hallway in the middle of them, and that's the dead man wagon was two big wheels, and then four. Each corner had a piece of wood sticking out there. 4 men would carry them. They had the dead ones stacked in the middle. That went on every day. Russians were. We had the shots for our lice. We had shots that lice wouldn't bother us, but it was killing the Russians just every day to bring that dead bandwagon right through camp. It wasn't much food. Only real food was the bread. We'd have a roll call in the morning. Come in the first day, Rausgain, get up. You go out there and they start counting eins, ones, are für. Well, they're short. So then they go back in the barracks and count the ones that are dead or ones that couldn't get up. Count them, then they come back out and count us again. Okay, everybody's here. And then we would go in and we'd eat this. They try to, about like a possum, but it was a grain that they cooked or kind of halfway burnt or something. Anyway, you could drink it all right. I don't know if it had any vitamins in it. I guess it would have a little bit of vitamins. Then about 4 o'clock, we'd have a bowl of soup. The first thing in the morning, there was that possum stuff. Then you get a little loaf of bread. They weren't very big. 6 men to a loaf of bread. One man had the knife. He'd slice it up in 6 pieces. And you take turns about who takes the first piece. It was good bread. It was there was sawdust, leaves and leaves and sawdust. But it tasted good. Of course, when you're hungry, everything tastes good. Americans were getting fairly close to us, so they put us on a train, locked us up in boxcars on the 40 and 8s. I think there's about 50 of us in there. The first one's in, you sit down around a wall there. These things are only 21 feet long and 8 inches wide, 8 feet wide. So there wasn't much room in there. Then the last ones in had set back to back down through the middle, because nobody could lay down. So we started out that night. Trains run at night, they don't run in the daytime. So we went, I don't know how far we went. I don't think we went too far. Anyway, the P-47 and the P-38 blew up the locomotive. So there we sat all the rest of the day and all that night. Next day, the train crew come along and opened the doors and let us out. The guards, they all took off. Me and this other man, we slept in the train went under the main street, so we got under that railroad tracks that went under the main street. We thought this is about the safest place we could find. So we stayed under there that night. We slept on the rocks side of the road. First time we could stretch out, lay down. We went to sleep though. A lot of tears. Mom, she cried quite a bit, and of course, the other kids were in school. Dad, he didn't say anything. He just shook my hand. He didn't cry, but he couldn't talk. Quite a reunion.
Please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. These 3 things will help this channel continue to put out new videos every week. Please consider becoming a Patreon subscriber in order to help us fund travel to interview these incredible soldiers. And please reach out if you know any pro-veteran businesses that would be interested in sponsoring a video. And thank you for watching.